And so we hired Henry, and he came to work right away. Did kind of dual jobs until his contract was up in Phoenix, and came in just all ready to hit it. Mm-hmm. And he stayed with us for 10 years. Wonderful man.
Let's talk a little bit about the facility and the board's involvement in
here.
Oh,
that was for the fun part. You go back to try when we sell this to Josephine County on that second time they had the ballot. We were up in the cafeteria. I think it must have been the last part of October, but it was colder than all get out. And they had a big swamp heater in the corner, but right next to the swamp heater was the thermostat. So every time it would heat up, the thermostat would say, "You're hot enough," and so it'd be cold again. And so we froze our tails off in there. And then you'd go out, and we took people on tours. And this was a Job Corps site, all boys. And we'd take people on tours, and all I could see during this whole thing is latrines. Everywhere I went, there were latrines. That and cots. And the funniest thing, when I go back to my profession as an elementary school principal, I know where all those cots went. Everybody had one in their sick room. But again, all of us in education, people say we spend a lot, but we really conserve when we have a chance. So anyhow, we did have that. And then, this just door-to-door thing. And then Marjorie had a bulletin that she put out all this time about what's happening. And she typed it. This is all before computers, and typed it out and ran it off as cheap as she could, and we did it.
Great, yeah. Great. How well do you think you were prepared to be a board member?
None of us were. I said Bob Rust, who had been on the county school board, said, "Well, what we do is we put all the costs of the month and we throw it in the middle of the table, and we all look at it and say, pass it, pay it." I mean, and then we say, now that we have Henry, what do? Well, I guess we ought to get some deans and a business manager. And so we just kind of put and you just learn. Just learn. It was invaluable.
Well, it's an interesting experience. Henry talked about that too, how it came together kind of, piece by piece, and with him not having that experience and the board not having that experience. When you look around now, it's amazing that everything fell into place. And
Glenn Nielsen was a big help. He was assigned to us from the State Board of Education, and he was a vocational person. And he was a very young man at that time, and he was just a lot of help. And he came to work for us.
What do you find were the biggest challenges in those early years? Not just the startup, but let's say in the first 5-6 years in college.
I think it was curriculum. Trying to decide, right away we decided, we'll do horseshoeing, and that was kind of great because it was unique. And then I remember Bill Ford said, over here someplace was a dry cleaning plant. Well, we can teach dry cleaning. Well, that didn't seem like a good idea. But deciding not so much in the academic world. Over here with the English and and social sciences, but over here in the vocational, what are we going to do? And I think that was because, again, those are expensive, to teach, and we had to spend our money wisely, and yet we want to get out what we need, and we committed ourselves to this community to a vocational component of the school. And then another thing is that a nice program that we inherited was the nursing program, which stands to be a very prominent program in our school today, because it was under the GSD. It was under that, but according to the state law, or whatever it is, the ORS's, if there's a community college in the area, then the community college runs a nursing program. So we got into that right away, and it was at our Rogue Valley Hospital at that time.
Great.
And let's see, what else would I think about? We did the horseshoeing for a few years, and it was fun, but it kind of went away. We had
there were lots of reasons too.
Probably. It was fun because we all had little rings of horseshoe nails, and I still have a couple in my drawer.
Me too.
And it was things that we would give out when we went to meetings. And that's another thing. We'd go to meetings and we'd listen and we'd learn from the others that have been in the business longer than we have. And we went to lots of national meetings and again used the budget wisely. I can remember when Henry put us on a cheap flight to Miami that went from Medford to San Francisco to Visalia to Los Angeles to Texas to Atlanta to Miami. And when we got off that plane in Miami, we said, Henry, we're not going back with you. We want to go back the straight way. But it was, and not only that, you had to have, it's kind of like it is today, we had to pack our own lunch.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I imagine and trying to make sense of that budget and with limited resources is also a huge challenge for the entire board.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, but I thought people would, you kind of take that for granted because it hasn't really changed in the years.
No, I think that's rather unique for RCC that for a number of years it's been in existence. That budget has been pretty much a challenge for each board.
Well, we just had what do you call that? The amount of money we can spend, tax base. We had a tax base, and when you grew out of it and it wasn't enough, you'd have to go for a levy. And you know how hard levies were to pass in Josephine County. So, but we always made it somehow. We've grown, and when we went through and remodeled all these buildings, and then we've been able to add buildings. Oh, that's another thing. A wonderful story is the Library Learning Center over here. Marjorie Holzgang, the dear soul, had a seamstress lady that took care of her, her hems and her little mendings that she had to do. And one day this seamstress lady came to her, and this is the very beginning. He said, here's $10,000. I want you to take it to the college and do something good with it. And Marjorie got so nervous about it, she forgot to have the lady sign the check. So she had to go back and do that. But she wanted to give it anonymously. So what do we do for $10,000? If you gave it away in scholarships, it would be gone. Well, there came in Seattle, there was an announcement of a certain amount of federal money. And then if we got up to Seattle with a plan, we could apply for, I don't know, I can't remember how much it is anymore, but enough money to build the Library Learning Center and the student services. But we needed a plan. Well, architects don't work for nothing. But we had $10,000, and so we got a preliminary plan from an architect, and George Kurtz, our business manager, got on a plane, or he might have driven, I'm not sure, got up to Seattle, was able to present it, and we got the grant. And so we were able to build our first real buildings, because most of them were old barracks, and a couple maybe more sturdy than the barracks, but first building that had some real character to it.
Great. Well, you talked a little bit about the challenges being on the board for 28 and a half years. What were some of the biggest rewards as being a board member and a founding board member?
I think the first thing was the first graduations. And it wasn't a graduation. It was lots of graduations. And some were a little bit more basic than others. But knowing that we were sending people out into the field, either in some vocational thing or back onto the universe, and our Joan Momsen was one of our first graduates and somebody that we can be proud of today. That and I don't know, I think it's the stories that come out of it. And it's like, see all of these, this is a book that we think was done in the 80s, middle 80s, and it's about 10 women that went here, and there's 10 stories. And I found that in one of my wonderful filing systems, and it just